Today we're going to review the Nissan Leaf Mark 1. My name is Guillaume. The Nissan Leaf was launched in 2011. This is one of the very first modern electric vehicle on the market and probably the first in Ireland. The Nissan Leaf was sold all the way till 2017 in this format and then was replaced by the Leaf Mark II. There are three different types of Nissan Leaf. The first type is the one that was sold between 2011 and 2013. So this one was made in Japan and that's the very original one. There was only one version available and you could get it at that time. Then in 2013 the production was changed and the European production was moved to the UK. So that Leaf is slightly different and this is one of those here today. And that Leaf was made in two iterations, the 24 and the 30 kilowatt hours. The first one was just 24 kilowatt hours. So the Nissan Leaf was available in different versions depending on the year. The first one, the Japanese one, sold between 2011 and 2013. This one was a single trim, very easy to spot, and it was just available in different colors. Only one option was available, it was a solar roof. So you could see on the spoiler a few cells. This was used only to recharge the 12-volt battery, not the main battery. All those Leaves have the same interior. It was a kind of gray beige interior. And so it was a sort of suede or velour, and then there were no other options. So you had like LED headlights, you had the 16-inch alloys, you had the sat nav, etc., etc. So it was kind of a comprehensive trim. Then in 2013, this was divided in three different trims. So you had the Visia, the Ascenta and the Tekna if it's coming from the UK, or in Ireland the S, the SV and SVE. Those trims are exactly the same whether they are in Ireland or from the UK. You might find Teknas for sale, just think that it's exactly the same as SVE. This vehicle is an SVE. How to spot them? So it's quite easy actually. The SVE, this one, has 17-inch wheels. So they're a bit bigger and they are dark in the middle. Then you've got the 16 inches, so they don't have any dark elements, so they are obviously a bit smaller. And the base model has 15-inch wheel trims. The 16-inch version is actually look exactly the same as the first version from Japan in terms of wheels. But there is a few other differences you can see. To spot the very first Leaf, there are a few elements such as the plate holder, which is always black in the first Leaf. In the interior, you will see there are cup holders in the back. It's actually at the back of the central armrest, the front armrest. You also do not have a percentage gauge in the first Leaf. From 2013, you have a gauge with the level of battery in percent displayed. Another one would be the handbrake. On the very first version, you have an electric handbrake, which is automatic, and then later you have a manual pedal brake. Actually, it's on the left side of the pedal area. So the rear side of the Nissan Leaf. One thing I just want to explain before opening the boot. Here you've got a reverse camera, so you've got reverse camera on pretty much any Leaf except the base version Visia and S. And on the SVE, not only you've got one on the back, but also on each side and in the front to give you a 360 view that we can see in the interior. So this is the boot of the Nissan Leaf. It's quite large, as you can see. It's really a family car and it will really please many families there. You have to know a couple of things. There are different variations of that boot. So this being the Tekna or the SVE, it has a Bose subwoofer in the back there, and it's quite big. It's quite large and just across. So of course, if you have SV or Visia or Ascenta, then you will not have this Bose bar. If you have a first generation Leaf made in Japan, this version, here, you actually have the onboard charger. So you have even less space than on this very version. So this would be on all the pre-2013 Leafs. You will here we have 2 charging cables, 1 granny cable and 1 regular cable. They come with the bag, and you can actually hook them on the side there. This is the interior of the Nissan Leaf. One thing you have to know is that the Nissan Leaf is a really comfortable car. Not only the suspension, but also the seats and the driving position. It's not a sports car, it's not a car that you'll drive super fast in the Benz, but it's really a pure, comfortable family car. Very spacious inside and very comfortable. Those seats are really good. I've had a Leaf myself for a few years, 2 of them actually, and on a long distance trip, they're really good, you know. So let's talk about the dashboard of the Nissan Leaf. This is rather classic, except for one thing, is that there are 2 different screens here, one above and one inside the steering wheel. Then there is a sat-nav screen, air conditioning controls, and your gear stick is just here, just like if you would have a manual gear stick. Let's start it and see how it goes. So there's a little chime there. It all starts, and you can see here you've got the gauge in percentage. We have 94% at the very moment, and so this is quite useful, and you would not have that in the earlier Leafs. It's quite useful because the range here that you can see on the right hand side, this gauge there is not very precise. We call it the guessometer. There are 12 bars that go not very regularly, let's say. On the left hand side you have something not too common on electric vehicles. It's actually the battery temperature. The reason why is that the Nissan Leaf is not actively cooled, so it's only air cooled passively. So if you do many charges during a day, you would build up the temperature, and you don't want to be in the red zone, of course, to preserve battery life. Most of the cars do not have this issue, so they would not have a gauge altogether. On the top here, you've got some dots. So it's the power gauge. So the more you accelerate, the more dots you see here, and if you regen, you've got the dots on the left hand side that come on. Then on the top here you've got your speed, the clock, and here is something a bit like a gimmick. It's actually a rewarding gauge, and the more you drive in a very economical way, let's say, you're building trees. So you build trees, and you can build one, and then the second, and the third, and fourth tree. So it's a funny thing. It's really a gimmick, you know. It's not very useful, but it rewards you if you are a good EV driver. Moving to the center of the car. So here you've got the sat-nav. So the sat-nav has never been too good. It's kind of an old sat-nav, an old generation sat-nav, and especially now it's aged quite a lot. So you've got your normal sat-nav functions, and you've got your radio and your Bluetooth, of course, so everything is in there. Something interesting in this car is that, as I was saying, it has a 360 camera. So to see the 360 camera, once the car is on like this, you just have to press reverse, and then it will show the regular view here that you see. That would be the rear view, but here you can also see different views. So you see the left, the right, and the front of the car, and the back. So here there's nothing at the moment, so you wouldn't see too much, but basically it's a representation of the car from the top. It's very handy when you have to park anywhere. And then here, if you press camera, you can have a zoom on the side of the car. If you see if there's a curb, for example, it kind of zooms in, because the side cameras are located below the wing mirrors, or the door mirrors. Going back to the audio system, you've got here actually a CD player. So it's just located there. It's not really something we use too much nowadays, but not many people necessarily know that there's a CD player in a Nissan Leaf. It's useful. And you can actually also adjust the angle of this screen if you want. So it's very good altogether, if you accept for the navigation that is a bit like old school. But then you have your radio controls here, and then you can turn it off, of course, if you want.
Is that the effect?
You've got your air conditioning here. That's climate control. Normal usage, nothing crazy about it. It's a single zone climate control. So here we've got the gear stick. It's like a joystick actually. So you can engage it here towards you and bottom to engage drive. If you do it again, it will go into B mode. The B mode is drive with more regeneration. So when you slow down, it will brake the car a bit harder. If you engage it here, this goes into reverse, and that's where you see your reverse camera coming onto your screen. And then if you do here, you've got neutral. Neutral is not really useful, to be honest. You wouldn't necessarily use this. And then if you press here, you've got parking. Parking is not too used either, because when you turn off your car with the stop button, the start-stop button, it will engage in parking automatically. So realistically, you don't use this button very much. And then just behind here, you've got a copy hold. This here, if you have an earlier generation of Leaf, you can see there will be the electric handbrake that's going to be located here, and so storage from 2013. And of course, this version being post 2013, there is a pedal brake on the near your left foot. So here we have a center armrest, very comfortable, and it has storage inside. The storage is not huge, but you can see you can put some CDs very easily. So here in front of the gear selector, we have a bit of storage. So there are two cup holders, a bit of storage just there. Here we have the USB sockets, that's quite useful, and here we've got an auxiliary if you have an iPod to plug in, so that's quite useful. And then here you've got the heated seats. Those are the front heated seats. You've got two positions, low and high, for each of the front seats, but you also have heated seats in the back, so there's only one which for the whole bench. It's quite rare in an electric car to have this. So you have the front and the rear heated seats standard on the SVE or the Tekna, and also the heated steering wheel that I will show you in a moment. This is part of something called the cold pack that you can also have as an option on the SV model or the Ascenta. So let's talk about the steering wheel controls. So here on the left hand side you've got radio controls. So this is just a source, volume and voice command. This is for the phone. This is an interesting button. It actually, if you press it, it actually shows on the sat nav your position and how far you can go. So it's a range visualization, and you can see also the charge points that are in this area. That's quite useful. On the right hand side you've got the cruise control, and you also have an eco mode. The eco mode, it's simple, it limits your speed and makes the accelerator pedal a bit more dumb, so it will just improve your range mechanically. And then just next to it we've got a few extra controls on the right hand side of the steering wheel. They are quite useful. So we have first this button, which actually opens the charge port in front, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. Here we can actually lock the cable in the charge port, so that's quite useful if you're using a public charge point. You want to lock it so no one can unplug your car. Here we've got the timer off button. It's a shortcut that's very useful. It should be on any EV really, because like many other EVs you can program the charging time, the timing in your car for nitrates, for example. If during the day you need to do a charge at a public charger, you just have to press this button and it will just temporarily deactivate that program. You don't have to go to the menu to change it. And then next to it, you've got actually a little button to remove the sound that is added to the vehicle when you drive at low speed. Just below, you have the button for the heated steering wheel. Again, part of the cold pack, option on SV and standard and SVE. And then the last one is to turn off the traction control. If you're driving on the snow, it allows you to get a bit of grip if you want to take off. So on this Leaf, you have here storage for your sunglasses. And here you've got the controls of lights, of course. So that's very handy. Here you actually have a little LED light that will illuminate the gear selector. That's quite cool. It's a little orange light. And then just on the top, you've got the alarm, so you can turn the alarm off, of course, if you take the ferry or something like this and you don't. Now we're in the back of this car. As you can see here, I'm very comfortably seated. The seat is adjusted on my size, so I'm 1.78 meters, so that would be 5'10". So you can see I still have a lot of room here. You have a bit of a hump if you're in the center position, which is a bit strange because there's no transmission, but this could be a bit annoying if you're seated in the middle. There is no armrest in the center. However, there is 1/3, 2/3 folding seats in this car, as a good hatchback should be. In terms of storage, there's just some small storage in the doors, not too much really, but it can hold a bottle. And then you've got some pockets in the back of the front seats. And then here we have the button that turns on the heated seat for the rear bench. All right, so let's talk about charging now. As you saw in the interior, there is a button that opens the charge port here. If you have an early Leaf, it's actually a cable release, so you have to pull. It's another lever there, similar like a hood release, really. On the Leafs that from 2013, made in the UK, you also have a button here. So if you press here for about 2 seconds, it opens the port here. So you've got on the left hand side the CHAdeMO DC charging. So this is this big one here, and it charges up to 50 kilowatt. This is standard on all Leafs, but a few S and Visia models came without this port, so you might come across one. Here you've got the Type 1 charging port, so this is AC. It charges at 3.3 or 6.6 kilowatt depending on the model. First version all at 3.3, and then for the UK built ones it was an option. So you could have a SVE with a 3.3, that's possible. You could have an SV with a 6.6, this is also possible. So there is one way you can do to check if the vehicle you're purchasing has a 3.3 or 6.6 charge point, onboard charger, sorry. If you look at the dashboard, you can see the charging time that is necessary. And here, if you have the 6.6 kilowatt option, you will have 2 different times displayed there. One thing important, this car has LED headlights. So those are the low beams. The high beams are halogen, but they are really good, and I will really recommend them if you were to buy a Nissan Leaf. They are standard on every early Nissan Leaf that were made out of Japan, but on the UK ones, they were only available and standard on the SV or the Tekna. Another thing that this car has in particular is a chrome pack. So this is an accessory pack that usually you wouldn't find on those cars. So you've got the mirrors there, they are a bit chromed, and you also have the surrounding of the day running lights. Yes, those are the day running lights, they are not fog lights. Now let's talk about battery. Of course, this is important, and in terms of size, there's actually 2 different sizes. But there are actually 3 different batteries. So first one is a 24 kilowatt hour first generation that you find on the Japanese Leafs. So this one was made between 2011 and 2013. This one was very similar to the next one, but the degradation is a bit higher, so you just have to know that. The second one made in the UK between 2013 all the way till the end, actually, so was exactly the same size, but this is known as a battery that lasts quite well in time, and the degradation is much lower than the earlier ones. And then in 2016, early 2016, you could purchase a 30 kilowatt hour battery. So this went for the last 2 years of production of the Leaf Mark 1, and this has a bit of a higher range. So the first one has between 80 and 100 kilometers. I'm saying this taking in consideration that there's been a bit of a degradation. So you're watching this video in 2020, and those cars are already 6, 7, 8 years. So it would be a normal, there would be a normal degradation, maybe 20% or more. So don't expect more than 80 to 100 kilometers, depending on the weather and your driving style. The second type of batteries, you could expect probably between 100 and 120 kilometers. This is this very car. So this is much better. Also, from the second generation of battery, you also have a heat pump. The heat pump really helps the range in winter, so this is a good thing to know. And then on the 30 kilowatt hour version, you also have the heat pump, of course, and you can expect between 120 and 150 kilometers of range. All right, this was the review of the Nissan Leaf. So what I can tell, because I've had 2 of those cars, and by the experience of the other owners, this car is a very solid, very reliable car. So it's really a good choice if you're looking for a used EV, especially because there are many of those on the market. I hope you find it very informative. If you have questions, put them in the comment section and we will answer those questions, of course. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you very soon.